Well, as you see, low beams I only have driver's side, nothing on the passenger side, and high beams all four work. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on, get the low beams working on both sides, and the high beams has another issue. So the other issue with the high beams is they tend to flicker, especially this passenger side, and sometimes they cut off completely and then they come back. It seems to be whenever I'm driving over a bumpy road or something, I hit some bumps, they start to flicker, they cut off, and then they come back on a little bit later. That makes me think we have some sort of bad connection. Something is interrupting the current flow. So let's take a look at the connector harness. Those are known for having bad connections over the years. So let's see. So first we're going to work on the low beam on the passenger side. So it was this one that turned on the driver's side. I expect it's the outside that's supposed to turn on the passenger side. And we're just taking a look. These headlights match brand wise. So we don't have anything funky going on there. I think that's always a good place to start. And then underneath, up here is our two headlight bulbs with the connectors to them. So what we're going to do is unplug the far right one, that's the low beam for the passenger side, and let's test to make sure we have the correct voltage and ground. Alright, here we have the connector unplugged, and right away it started just falling apart. You can see this is the ground. The connector just disintegrated, the ground came out. I think it's safe to say we probably just had a bad connector. It probably just corroded. So what I will do now is test all of our connections here, make sure we have ground where we're supposed to, we have voltage where we're supposed to on the low and the high beams. So based off that annoying ring you hear right now, we do have ground. Let's check voltage now. And connected to the low beam voltage, we do get our battery voltage. So let's test the headlight. Maybe the filament inside the bulb itself died. Okay, got my power probe connected, giving it power, and now when I turn this on, nothing. So the headlight bulb filament itself has died in the low beam side. I don't know much about these, but what I do know is this has three connectors, a brown, a green, and a tan. This is only brown and green. And then same over there. So brown and green are for the high beams. Brown and tan seem to be for the low beams. So we're going to need a new bulb. We can't just swap this to here to get it to work. It doesn't work like that. And we could prove this by switching over to the high beam side. So now, when I give it power, it lights up. So my test equipment here is good. The bulb itself is bad. Now, as to my issue with the high beams flickering and turning off sometimes, here's a picture of what the ground looks like. And I think this looks like a issue. If anything, we'll clean it up and make it better. So that ground is located down here, driver's side, over by the front radiator support, and it's right behind the vacuum canister. It's really difficult to get to. I can't really see it, so I definitely won't be able to fit the camera in there, but it's in there, and it's not good. Now, the other ground for the front light harnesses is dead center here, and it's right here under the harness here. You see the wire for it. This is the ground. So that one looks good. We'll clean it up as well just to be safe, but that one looks good. The one down there doesn't look so hot. Okay, before I tackle the ground, I'm going to work on taking this headlight out, the one that's bad. And so I got the trim off already. I just undid the 3 screws around it, so now the trim here should be able to come out. Oh, and there we go. There's the whole headlight. So that's all it takes, just 3 screws, as you can see, and it pulls on out. So now I'm going to try to find an exact replacement or really close of a replacement. Now, this would be a really good time to just switch to LED lights. And I think in the future I am going to upgrade to brighter lights. But this worked, and I don't drive that much at night. So that's why I'm okay with just spending the cheap money now to just get one headlight, get back in business, working headlights again, and then later down the line, we'll come back, revisit this, and replace everything with LEDs. Well, we got new versus old here, so this being the new, this is the old. The only difference is this one said Sylvania halogen, this one doesn't have halogen, but otherwise they're identical. They both say 2C1, they're the same size, same plug on the back. So we're good to go. Let's start swapping this in. And we also picked up a new headlight harness, this connector here, so we got to wire this in as well. Let's do that. Well, what I think I'm going to try is just to de-pin this. So it has this tab here on the back that you just press down with the small flathead. De-pin it and then re-pin it with the existing wires, because the existing wires were fine. It was just the harness itself that was destroyed. And now we have our old versus new. So you see this one totally cracked up and it wasn't really holding them in securely at all. Now we got the new one. We'll just slide the existing wired terminals into here, but I'm going to clean them up with some sandpaper just to get them nice and ready for this. Alright, we have the terminals all cleaned up. They're ready to just slide on in. All we do is just slide it in, press it in, then it's good. It clicks and we're good. I would like to get these painted up, get the underside of this painted up one day. I think I'll eventually do that once I swap all these halogens out for LEDs, but that will be to come, because there's going to be quite a bit of work to do all that. So for now, I'm just going to slip the harness connector back on, then we can put the headlight in. And now with it all back together, turn the headlights on, and we have both working. So good. The low beams work. Let's try the high beams, make sure that still works. And high beams works. All four. Perfect. Alright, now back to repairing the ground for the front lights area. Now I just reached in here and I was able to feel the wire. I pulled it up and that's not supposed to happen. So this ground, it's not really doing much of anything right now. It really seems like it just rusted out. Now if you know the lower rad support, common for it to just rust out, and mine is definitely there. So that's probably what happened to this. Now what we're going to do, I mean the right repair is just replace the rad support and then reattach the ground there, but for now what we're going to do is just splice the wire in and probably bring it up to this ground up here. Done a bit of detective work here to figure out what grounds the headlights uses. Now there's 3 locations that can supply the ground for the headlights. First one being the one I showed earlier, the one in the center here. This one's nice and easy to find. The other one being down here in the lower rad support. This is the one that is all crusty and not doing anything. The third location is actually the ground for the alternator. So the stud back here that connects this ground to the housing of the alternator, that is enough to supply the ground and flow the current for the headlights. I'm thinking what's happening is with the high beams, it's drawing more current, and then it starts flickering because it's not able to draw enough current. And then eventually it shuts off and then it comes back. So with only 2 grounds that were known to be working, the alternator ground and the center ground here, I think that bottom one was a crucial ground that it just did not have. So we need to supply that ground somewhere else, and like I said, I'm probably just going to tie it in up here just for now. Took apart some of the wiring harness here, and we can see right here what I'm holding is that black ground that was rusted out. Now this is spliced into this connector here with 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So this is how the ground is shared between multiple different sources of grounds for the front headlights. So that makes sense why the alternator ground worked for the headlights. So the connection here seems to be good still. I mean, it's old. It is old, but it seems to be doing its job still. Alright, got it all wired up. So as you see, everything looks normal here. The wire is actually down here. So it comes out of the harness and it loops around, and then I tuck it in, taped it to the harness there. I didn't want to put it inside of the protective harness because that would be a sharp 180. And then we have the existing center ground location here, and I spliced it in. So we have that yellow, that's the ring connector for the new wire that I ran. Everything is heat shrinked, and we are good to go. And now we turn the lights on once we got everything buttoned up. We still have both lights. Great. They look even. They weren't even before. They look pretty even now. Now the brights. There we go. It's definitely a different color than the other ones. So compare that one to this one. It's definitely different. But believe that one is definitely more modern. These are at least 20 years old. And there we have it. We fixed the low beams and believe we fixed the high beam issue, the ground issue. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.